Welcome back. Now that the season has wrapped, the focus shifts to the offseason and, of course, the draft. Joining us now, Ryan Wilson here to break down his latest AFC mock draft. We'll go team by team through each of these divisions and what they need starting into the next season. So let's start with the AFC East. You got the Bills, the Dolphins, Patriots, and the Jets. Wilson, where do you see the biggest roster needs in this division?
Hey, Katie, good to see you as always. So let's do it a little different. We won't go 1 through 32. We'll just go by division, and we'll go in alphabetical order or whatever order I feel like. So we're going to the AFC East, and we're going to do the Buffalo Bills. And let's get Buffalo out of the way early. They're going to pick late in the first round. They picked 26 overall. They need a receiver. Brandon Beane and owner Terry Pegula made that sort of clear. Keon Coleman's future, we'll see. So I haven't taken Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M, transferred from NC State after the 2024 season. He's electric as a returner. He can play in the slot. He can play outside, about 5'10", 190. He can do it all. Maybe he's a little bit too much like Khalil Shakir. I would argue you can't have enough of those guys on the field getting open, especially at that point in the draft. Some of the taller receivers might be gone. So Casey Concepcion would make a lot of sense there. The Miami Dolphins, they need help just about everywhere. Quarterback will be in the conversation, probably not in the first round. Instead, I have them taking the best cornerback on my board, Mansour Delane out of LSU. Had a lockdown, as close as you can be locked down in this day and age of football season for the Tigers, and he is going to be a top 15 pick given the physicality and ball skills with which he played. New England Patriots, and look, I don't want to overreact, Katie. I don't want this to be a knee-jerk reaction thing. I haven't taken an offensive lineman. Yeah. Monroe Freeling, the left tackle out of Georgia. Look, he can play on the right side to start his career. We'll see what Morgan Moses' future is. He's got a couple of years left in his deal, I think. You keep Will Campbell where he is. Give the man a couple days to cool off because he hit a rough patch there through no fault of his own playing that Seahawks defense. But I think they still need help along the offensive line. And then finally, the New York Jets. The Fighting Rick Spielmans have 2 first-round picks. What are they going to do? Arvell Reese with their first-rounder, which is second overall because Dante Moore went back to school. So they get the best pure non-quarterback in this draft class, Ohio State's linebacker/edge rusher. And then with their second first-round pick, Katie, by way of the Colts, part of that Sauce Gardner trade, they get – I had to double check and make sure I wasn't getting a quarterback. No quarterback, but I get another wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon, similar in style to Casey Concepcion, but Garrett Wilson's been asking for wide receiver help forever. They get it in the form of the USC wide receiver, who also, like Casey Concepcion, has return ability.
Yeah, you talk about those Patriots. Obviously, they ran into the best defense, or one of the best defenses in the league with the Seattle Seahawks. But you had an MVP caliber quarterback. The number one thing should be protection for him. Let's move on to the AFC West. You got the Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, and the Chargers. Which team here has the most work to do in the offseason, and what do you like for everybody?
Well, you know, it's crazy. The Raiders have the most work to do, but the second most is probably the Chiefs. But we'll start with the Raiders and just check that box. Fernando Mendoza, come on down. You're going to Las Vegas. If ever there was a fit for Las Vegas to stay out of trouble, it's Fernando Mendoza. So that makes perfect sense, and he's going to be their QB1 from day one. Now let's go to Kansas City, who suddenly looks like a team with a bunch of needs. They have a ton of guys whose contracts are going to be up. Patrick Mahomes obviously is coming off that ACL. We'll see if he's ready. What's Travis Kelce going to do? Here's what we're going to do, Katie. We're going to give them running back Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Isaiah Pacheco's contract is up as well. And Jeremiah Love is electric as a running back. He's also electric as a receiver, so he can do it all for a team that suddenly needs a lot of help, which is a crazy thing to say. Next up, let's go to the Denver Broncos, a team that made it deep into the playoffs, all the way to the championship game. Of course, Bo Nix got hurt. He'll be healthy in time for the season. It seems weird to say they need help on defense, but they're going to have some guys whose contracts are going to expire, including Alex Singleton, the linebacker. So I have them getting Georgia linebacker C.J. Allen, who is an absolute missile coming downhill, and he will pay dividends immediately in that defense for Vance Josephs. And finally, the L.A. Chargers. Let's get them some help on the interior of that offensive line. Everyone and their brother and their brother's brother got hurt in that offensive line, and we saw what it looked like in the playoff game against the Patriots. They also have some guys, including Zion Johnson, the guard, whose deal is going to be up. So I have them going with Vega Ione, the guard out of Penn State. He will be a day one starter, and he will be undoubtedly a first-round pick as well.
It'll be so interesting to see what Mike McDaniel can do with Justin Herbert, and so I agree with you. Protection should be paramount there. Over to the AFC North, where we've got everybody different except for Zach Taylor when it comes to coaching. The Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers all have new head coaches. Where could the draft have the biggest or immediate impact per team?
So let's start in Baltimore. And by the way, Katie, how crazy is it that the coach left standing is the one, Zach Taylor, in Cincinnati? But
The
great
one
guy.
that probably should have moved, if we're being honest with each other.
That's right. And I think we are, if nothing else, being honest with each other. So let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. They had a ton of injuries on defense, including along the defensive line. Matt Abike missed much of the season. There's some lingering concerns about how long he might be out, even heading into 2026. I have them taking Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. He was the number 5 player on my big board over the summer. I still think he's a top 15 talent, might get pushed down as other players at other positions get pushed up in this draft class. Let's go now to the aforementioned Cincinnati Bengals. We're on to Cincinnati, and they need an edge rusher like the Cincinnati Bengals need an edge rusher. Trey Henderson, I cannot imagine any universe where he comes back to Cincinnati. I think they could offer him a 10-year, $10 million deal, and he would turn it down to do anything other than return to Cincinnati. TJ Parker is a powerful, juiced-up edge rusher out of Clemson. I talked to him at the Senior Bowl last week, Katie, and his 2025 production didn't quite meet 2024. Loved his answer. He said, listen, I was just doing my job and allowed my teammates to make plays. But he is much further along than Shamar Stewart was a year ago when they drafted him. His rookie season didn't go as planned. Now they get more help at the edge rush position. Let's go to Cleveland now. They have 2 first-round picks, Katie, and they would love to get a quarterback here, but they're going to pass on Ty Simpson in this version of the mock draft. And at number 6, I haven't taken Spencer Fano, the right tackle out of Utah. He also has left tackle experience. He played there early in his career for the Utes. DeJuan Jones comes back on the left side for the Browns. He's healthy. It certainly feels like in this Todd Monken, the early days in Cleveland, that this is going to be Shedeur Sanders' team to start. We heard JJ report that yesterday from the Super Bowl. So if that's the case, and you talked about this in previous conversations about protecting Drake May, you got to protect your quarterback. So Spencer Fano is a top 10 talent, and it makes a ton of sense there. And then with their second first-round pick, Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, the wide receiver, they have to get help for whoever the wide receiver crew is going to be. Jerry Jeudy is currently the number 1. He's probably closer to a 2 or a 3. Jordan Tyson is the number 1 all day long. Big, strong, physical, can make plays at all 3 levels, contested catch guy down the field, will outrun defenders once the ball is in his hand. All those things you want to see Shedeur Sanders take advantage of. And finally, the Pittsburgh Steelers, no quarterback here either. We'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers and is he going to get reunited with Mike McCarthy instead of having him taking Denzel Boston, another big physical downfield receiver out of Washington. He will pair with DK Metcalf because they didn't have a legit number 2 for much of last season. Calvin Austin's in the final year of his deal. They've had Adam Thielen retire, who they picked up midway through the season. Denzel Boston is an absolute game changer down the field, and I think he will give whoever the quarterback is, and we don't yet know, another big target to throw to.
It's so funny. 2 years ago, that was the most dominant division in the NFL, and to see everything so in flux now and with different coaches has been interesting to say the least. But Wilson, let's wrap it up with the AFC South here. You got the Texans, the Colts, the Jags, and the Titans. Which of these teams is best positioned to take a step forward with the right pick this year? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing, and we got a little time, so we can moonwalk through this one, Katie. The Colts don't have a first-round pick because they traded it to the Jets for Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
The Jaguars don't have that first-round pick because they traded it to the Browns for Travis Hunter. And this is how good the Jacksonville Jaguars were this year. Travis Hunter was hurt for much of the year, and they were still one of the best teams in the AFC, had one of the biggest turnarounds. Liam Cohen was in the running for Coach of the Year, and Trevor Lawrence took that next step. So those moves paid off, even though they didn't pay off immediately in Jacksonville's case. And for being honest, the Colts case either. Sauce got hurt, they have to figure out Daniel Jones. So with those 2 teams out of the way, let's go with the other 2 teams that do, in fact, have first-round picks. And we'll start with the team that's picking first among these teams in this division. The Tennessee Titans are at 4 overall. And look, Arvell Reese would be attractive here. An edge rusher, David Bailey, Reuben Bain Jr. would be attractive here. Let's get crazy. Let's help out Cam Ward. Let's get another playmaker because they drafted a ton of them last year. Let's get Carnell Tate, who is my wide receiver 1. Big, strong, fast, physical, and I don't want to overstate it, but he may have a chance to be coming out in year 1, one of the best Ohio State receivers. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba holds that honor now. We know Garrett Wilson played really well early on. We know Marvin Harrison Jr. struggled a little bit. But I think Carnell Tate, what he's been able to do at Ohio State, obviously playing opposite Jeremiah Smith, has been incredible to watch. And yes, the Titans drafted Alec Ayuminor on day 3 last year. He did a pretty good job as a rookie. Tamari DK did a pretty good job as a rookie. Even tight end Gunnar Helm showed up. Cardinal Tate is a different type of dude. He is closer to what Calvin Ridley was in his prime in terms of being a game changer than a possession receiver. So I think that is an incredibly enticing offer on display for, if you will, for Cam Ward and this offense with now Brian Daboll as the offensive coordinator, which is something that no one had on their bingo card 12 months ago. And then finally, the Houston Texans, a team that you have to figure out what's going on with C.J. Stroud first and foremost. Maybe he was banged up and we just don't know about it because he was not the C.J. Stroud we saw in 2023. Struggled a little bit in 2024, moved on from Bobby Slowick, the OC, got a new OC in there, and nothing really seemed to change. So let's keep fixing the offensive line. I haven't taken Emmanuel Pregnone out of Oregon, transferred from USC, and he was one of the best, quietly, one of the best offensive linemen in college football last year. Played at guard, so you don't talk a lot about him, but there's a chance for 2 or 3 interior offensive linemen to go off the board in the first round, and he's going to come in right away, solidify that unit. If they can get some guys healthy on the offensive line as well, because they've drafted some guys early on, that will also help. Their second-round pick last year, Ronte Ursery, had a pretty good start to his career. Played right side, moved to the left side, and once they get that solidified, hopefully, hope ain't a plan, but hopefully we can get C.J. Stroud that we saw in 2023, not the one who sort of stumbled his way through the last 2 seasons. But your underlying point comes back to play here in Houston. Protect the quarterback, and then we'll figure out the rest later.
Well, yeah, I mean, the turnovers from C.J. Stroud there down the stretch were not ideal, but he was running for his life a lot of that time. So I'm with you on that one. Here is a look at the AFC team needs using the 2026 NFL mock draft, according to our friend Ryan Wilson. In the AFC East, you got the Jets taking a couple guys in the first round. I mean, all of this is looking really good. I got to say, all of this is looking really good. The one thing that is obvious here is, of course, Mendoza, number 1 overall, going to the Raiders. And we're doing a hot change here, looking at the AFC North and the AFC South. Of course, when we look at this AFC South, not a whole lot of first-rounders in there with some traded picks out there, but good stuff from our guy, Ryan Wilson. All right, we just went team by team through the AFC. Now we'll do it all over again on the other side. Wilson is sticking around to shift to the NFC and break down what every team needs there. I'll tell you what, they don't need too much in Seattle. We'll be right back. Back here on Primetime Pregame, Ryan Wilson still with us as we flip over to the NFC. Let's run through his latest mock draft and take a look at what each team needs heading into the offseason. We got to start with the NFC East, where, what are the biggest needs here, right? You got the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, the Commanders. I don't think the Cowboys are going to get what they really need, which is to fire Jerry Jones as their owner and GM. But what else you got cooking?
Yeah, no comment on that, just in case Jerry's watching. I don't want him coming after me, Katie Mox. But look, you're not saying anything that fans have not said countless times over the years. That aside, so the Cowboys do have 2 first-round picks because, to your larger point, Micah Parsons is no longer with the team. They probably could have used him. But Jerry, in the most Jerry way possible, did find ways to get better. They got Quentin Williams, for example. They got a couple high-round draft picks. So the 2 first-round picks in this mock draft here, I have them getting Sonny Styles, a linebacker out of Ohio State. And this guy is a former safety who moves like a safety and continues to grow as a linebacker. In 2024, it looked like he was a little hesitant as he was figuring out that transition. 2025, dominant. And he would have been the most dominant player on that defense, if not for guys named Arvell Reese and Caleb Downs. But it's not bad to be third in that trio. Anyway, he's going to go with one of the first-round picks at 12 overall. And then later in the first round, the pick they got from the Packers for Micah Parsons, I have them taking Brandon Cisse, the cornerback out of South Carolina. Another physical, athletic, playmaking corner. They do need some help on the outside. Obviously, they moved on from Trevon Diggs. He went to Green Bay and has since been released as well. But they do need to stockpile the defensive backs room. So they double up here. Both sides, both players on defense, and this team suddenly gets somehow more athletic. Obviously, they need it on defense and more of a playmaking unit to battle some of those other teams in the NFC East.
All right, let's look to the NFC West. Obviously, the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl. They're probably the team that has the least amount to fix. The Cardinals are an absolute disaster. They have a lot to fix. Then you got the Rams and the 49ers here. When you look at each of these teams, what do they need moving into next season?
Yeah, I totally forgot about the other teams in the East, so we can come back to those if you want. That's on me. I got caught up in the Jerry Jones conversation. So, yeah, I'll mention those quickly, and I apologize. Again, Jerry's living rent-free in my head here, Katie, thanks to you.
I think he lives rent-free in a lot of people's heads.
We mentioned the two Cowboys picks. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Giants. And look, Carnell Tate has been a popular landing spot for the Giants in mock drafts, but he is already off the board. In this version of the one we did last segment, we had Carnell Tate going just to pick ahead to the Tennessee Titans. So instead, they go with CeCe Manoa, the right tackle out of the U. He can play inside, maybe. I like him at right tackle. They obviously need help on the right side. They've had some previous draft picks that did not work out there, whose contracts are currently up. We know on the left side, when they're healthy, they can be a pretty good unit. And, of course, they have Jackson Dart. So the theme continues, Katie. Protect your young quarterback. The Philadelphia Eagles. Producer Sharon is an Eagles fan. I know sometimes Eagles fans in general get upset when you give them an offensive lineman. I gave them Caleb Lomu, the left tackle out of Utah, played opposite Spencer Fano, and I gave them Caleb Lomu for this reason. We don't know what Lane Johnson's plans are. I'm not sure if Lane Johnson knows. And if he retires, it's good to have a backup plan in place. And Howie Rose from the GM there is as good as anyone on planet Earth at having backup plans, usually a month or a year before anyone else realizes those are needs. So that would not surprise me there. And finally, the Washington Commanders. And here's a note I wrote for the player I had them taking. Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher out of the U. This is... Anyone can make that. My dog can make this pick, Katie, because he is going to come in right away and dominate. And this is exactly the type of player off the edge that the Commanders need, because their pass rush crew was not great, if we're being kind. And they're a little long in the tooth, guys whose contracts are going to be up. So you get younger, stronger, faster. Ruben Bain Jr. makes too much sense not to have it.
Well, look, I've seen you playing fetch with your dog in the snow. That dog knows ball, so I wouldn't put too much past him. Let's talk about this NFC West now. What do you think?
Okay, let's go to the NFC West here. So the Arizona Cardinals are picking third, and there are going to be conversations about, are they going to take a quarterback here? I don't have them taking one. There's a lot to sort out with the new coaching staff. I have them taking the sure thing in David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, transferred from Stanford. He has catapulted himself up draft boards with the way he played in the fall. Absolutely electric. Totally old school. You see there, no gloves, no nothing. He just put his uniform on and went out there and played like it was Pee Wee ball. I love it. But he is all business. He was the standout performer, one of the few in that loss they had to Oregon in the playoffs, and that's going to translate immediately. Next up, the LA Rams have two picks, one by way of the Falcons, who they traded for James Pierce, who was recently in trouble. Not the Rams' concern. I have them taking a cornerback in Jermod McCoy towards ACL a year ago, last January. Did not play in the fall, but when you go back and watch his 2024 tape, Katie, he is one of the most athletic, physical cornerbacks still in this draft class. And even though he hasn't played, he's going to be a first-round pick. And then at the bottom of the first round, Ty Simpson, come on down. You're going to sit on the bench for a year or two, wait for Matthew Stafford to decide when to retire, and then you get to your graduation present is Sean McVay in this office. You're welcome. You've been living right. So I think that makes sense. We talk all the time about fit matters. Look at Sam Darnold, for example. The San Francisco 49ers, they have two healthy tight ends on the roster, Luke Farrell and Braden Willis, not anyone named George Kittle. He'll be back, of course. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon, at the bottom of the first round. Great blocking tight end, great on special teams, and obviously a great receiver. How about Brock Purdy and your 49ers there? Then finally, the Seattle Seahawks. They don't have any needs, if we're being honest. They're in pretty good shape. But I haven't taken a cornerback, Colton Hood, out of Tennessee. Played opposite Jermod McCoy when they were both healthy. He transferred from Colorado, had a great season this year, and he's a physical-type cornerback that will fit right into what Mike McDonald likes to do.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep bolstering up that defense. Over to the NFC North, you got the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings. Wilson, where could the draft make the quickest impact in this division per team?
Well, Green Bay doesn't have a pick because of the Micah Parsons situation. They did bring back Matt LaFleur, which somehow Packers fans don't like the idea of. He only wins 65% of his games, so what do I know? But Micah Parsons will have the biggest impact when he's healthy. But when we talk about the draft, I think we have to go. This is going to sound crazy. I think we have to go to Minnesota, where I have them taking Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. The defensive tackles they signed that were veterans didn't quite work out. Javon Hargrave among them. Jalen Richmond, the young player, actually was probably one of the most productive. Let's get some help for Brian Flores in the middle of that defense, and we'll do it with Caden McDonald, who's already one of the best run defenders in this class, and he will continue to grow as a pass rusher. And Detroit, going to get Aiden Hutchinson some help on the other side. Keldrick Falk, who, getting off the bus, probably looks like Chase Young in terms of the way he's built. He's incredibly young, just turned 21, and also juiced up, and he is just scratching the surface. And if you have him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, good luck to you, because you can't double-team both of them, and you may not be able to double-team either one of them because they're going to both be getting after it. And then finally, Chicago Bears. They have needs at edge rusher as well and left tackle, but they're picking further down, so some of those players may be gone. I had them taking Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety out of Toledo. Bears fans sometimes don't like the idea of taking a defensive back. They need defensive back help, so I'm going to do that here at the bottom of round one.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here with the NFC South. Historically, one of the worst divisions in football, but it does seem like things are looking up here, right? For the Falcons, the Saints, the Bucks, and how about those Panthers making it to the playoffs for the first time in, I don't know, over a decade? Which team has the clearest path forward with the right pick, do you think? And then we'll go from there.
Man, let's go with the Saints. Let's get crazy, right? Kellen Moore did a great job in year one. Tyler Shuck did a great job in year one as the 40th overall picks. He's going to keep that job and well-deserved. I have them taking Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. He reminds me, I'm not speaking out of turn or going crazy here, Katie. As a Steelers fan, he reminds me of Troy Polamalu. If he's 65% of that, this team is turning the corner right quick. So I love that pick there. They even passed on Jeremiah Love to take him, and I think that's the right decision as well. Next up, of course, is Tampa Bay. Given that they're always in the mix, Baker Mayfield is in the final year of his deal. I get them help on defense with Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle out of Florida. Injured for much of this year, but played really well at the Senior Bowl, 6'6", 330, and he plays just like it. The Carolina Panthers are going offensive line with Caden Proctor, the left tackle out of Alabama. He is 360 on his lightest of days. He is insanely athletic. He moves like he is a running back, but he just has to play a little bit more consistently. And finally, the Atlanta Falcons don't have a pick, Katie. And I wonder in the first round because of the James Pierce trade, but I wonder with the new regime there, Matt Ryan, of course, is now the head of football operations, if they're going to be sniffing around quarterbacks on day 2 and day 3, because there are going to be some guys that fall, like the Cade Klubniks and the Drew Allers and the Garrett Nussmeyers, guys that they think they can bring in that perhaps can be competition for Michael Penix Jr., and then we'll have to have that conversation. He's coming off the ACL, of course. So just something to keep in mind. Won't happen in round 1 unless they trade up, but something to monitor as we get through the draft, which is just over 70 days from now, I believe.
Well, it's your Super Bowl, as we said in the pre-show. After the Super Bowl is Ryan Wilson's Super Bowl. Thanks for stopping by and sharing your picks with us. Here's a look at what each NFC team needs in the West. We're all over the place. Edge rusher, cornerback, quarterback, and, of course, a tight end for my 49ers. And, hey, the Seahawks don't need much, but they might as well bolster up that secondary. In the North, we are looking at some edge rushers, some defensive linemen, and, of course, Green Bay traded that pick. Let's move on here to the NFC East. And like you said, the theme here still stands with protect the quarterback for the NFC East. Looking at the NFC South here, we're looking at some offensive linemen and some defensive linebackers as well. All right, folks, if you want more draft insight, check out the With the First Pick. It's with our guy, Ryan Wilson and Rand Carthon, breaking down prospects, team needs, and everything that you need to know before draft